chimp seemed to learn how to take this dead snake and go scare other chimps with it, and that was partly how he established his authority. And you know, and well, there's a threat, and like if I was you and I was around that chimp, I would take that threat seriously because those things are no joke, man. And you see the same thing here with the, I don't remember what kind of monkey that is, but they're engaged in agonistic behavior, and so there has been, by the way, there has been recent research showing that in higher order primates that there is snake detection circuitry that's built into them, right? So it's not learned. It's not learned. It's deeper than that. Now, for a long time, psychologists knew for a long time that I could make you afraid in a conditioning experiment much faster using a snake or a picture of a snake than a gun or a picture of a gun. So we can learn fear to snakes very rapidly, spiders as well. And so then people thought, well, maybe we were prepared to develop fear to snakes or spiders, that sort of thing. But the more recent research has indicated that it's more than just prepared, is that we have the detection circuitry built right into us. And, well, it's because, well, why wouldn't we? That's really the issue. It's like, it's not really that much of a surprise, unless you think of human beings as a blank slate. And if you think that, then, I don't know, you should crawl out of the 16th century. That's how I would look at it. Because, I mean, that's just gone, that idea. It's so wrong. So maybe you can think about this as a dominance hierarchy, but wolves look for credibility and competence as well. And chimpanzees don't like brutal tyrants, and so we'll talk about it as the hierarchy of authority. And so, well, this is kind of how it starts to develop. You know, you see, well, these girls are negotiating the domestic environment here, and how to behave properly, and how to share, and all that, and take turns. And so they're negotiating the hierarchy of authority. And if you're good at reciprocity, it's sometimes you're the authority, and sometimes the other person is the authority. That's fair play, right? And so these boys are doing the same thing, and you see, they're all smiling away. And so it looks like aggressive behavior, and people who are not very attentive, and who are paranoid, and who don't like human beings, confuse this with aggression, and they forbid it at schools, which is, you know, I know when my kids were going to school, for example, this was quite a while ago now, they were forbidden to pick up snow on the off chance they might throw a snowball. And we know how terrible that is. So what I told my son is that he was perfectly welcome to pelt any teacher he wanted to in the back of the head with a snowball, as long as he was willing to suffer the consequences of doing it. And I don't know if he ever did, but he was certainly happy with the idea, which made me very happy about him. So, yeah. So, you know, kids need to do this. They really, really, seriously need to do this. It's what civilizes them. And that needs to happen between the ages of 2 and 4, because if they're not civilized by the time they're 4, then you might as well just forget it. And that's a horrible statistic, but it's unbelievably well borne out in the relevant developmental literature. Like, there's lots of aggressive 2-year-olds, most of them are male. And if they stay aggressive past the age of 4, they tend to be lifetime aggressive. They make no friends, they're outcasts, they're much more likely to end up antisocial, criminal, delinquent, and in jail. And so, your kids need to be socialized between the ages of 2 and 4. And that's particularly true for the more aggressive males. And most of the aggressive 2-year-olds are male. And that isn't socialization, by the way. So there's a more abstract representation of the same sort of thing. And I'm trying to make the case that the hierarchy of authority emerges out of a game-like matrix, an underlying game-like matrix. And that's one of the things that's so brilliant about Jean Piaget. He figured that out. It's so smart. And he was interested in the biological origin of morality. And he identified it, he traced the origin to play and the emergence of morality out of play. And it's so smart. I just can't believe how smart an idea that was. Because it's the bottom-up construction of morality. Now, Piaget was a constructionist, and to some degree a social constructionist. He underestimated the role of biology. But that doesn't invalidate his theory. It's really easy to put a biological underpinning underneath Piaget's theory. We know the biology well enough to do it quite nicely now. So, I mean, the fact that Panksepp, for example, could identify the play circuit is a really good start with that, right? Because play has been around so long that we have a circuit that's dedicated to it. And so that's a very, very ancient That's a very ancient issue. And so, this is very much of an abstraction of a game here. And then, of course, you get the ultimate abstraction in representation. In a representation like that, where even the landscape of the game is fictional. And of course, we've migrated to a large degree into those sorts of fictional landscapes, fictional books, movies, video games. So it's the same, it's an extension of the same thing. So practice for real life that shades in some cases into real life itself. So